So, dear students, let us start the weekend live discussion session. So, first మనం ఏం స్టార్ట్ చేద్దామండి. సో మనం ఈ సెషన్కి ఏం పేరు పెట్టుకున్నాం. సో what is the name for this session? So first we have to revise, revision, and after the revision we will have certain recollection. After the recollection we will have clarification, and also we have started the Telegram channel and WhatsApp group for you, where we can provide you answers to your doubts. You can ask any doubt on any current affairs topic which has been come up in this particular week on that WhatsApp group or on that WhatsApp number or on that particular Telegram group that would be answered for you. So, what all the topics? Why we are making this slide? Remember one thing, we have to recollect whatever the current affairs which are there in this particular week. When we recollect, we remember. So this exercise is all about recollection. So please take a minute of your time to recollect. Please take a minute of your time to recollect what all we read, where we have to use this information in our mains answer writing, where we shall use this information with regard to our prelims. Recollect for 2 minutes. So when you recollect, first we know Citizenship Amendment Act is there in discussion, and we have seen multiple dimensions related to Citizenship Amendment Act. The new dimensions has come up. So the new dimension which we saw is what is the perspective of the Northeast with regard to Citizenship Amendment Act. Similarly, the government has announced NPR in the Parliament, National Population Register, and this is related to NRC, how they are related with each other, how both of them are related to Citizenship Amendment Act. So new dimensions are we are looking at. One is what is the northeastern dimension, especially Assam's dimension to the Citizenship Amendment Act, and NPR is announced, how this NPR is related to National Register of the Citizens. This we need to understand. And with regard to Panchayat, after 3 years local elections are being held. So in this context, we talked about one index that is called devolution index. And what are the problems which the panchayats are facing? Why shall we have effective Panchayati Raj system? That we are going to talk about. So local body elections, why is it in the news? It is in the context of the Panchayati Raj institutions. Similarly, Jharkhand elections. So here a coalition government has come into power. Why a coalition government has come into power, and what about the economic dimension of this election result? So Jharkhand is uniquely placed state, and what is the economic dimension? There is a bill which has come up that is called Personal Data Protection Bill. So right to privacy judgment in this context, what is this Personal Data Protection Bill? What are the articles which have come up? What is the dimension which they are talking about? That we will talk here. And then, as I already discussed, NRC and NPR are related to each other. Now, economic slowdown. So with regard to economic slowdown, we had a beautiful article written by Sri Rangarajan. We can take up that particular article for revision over here. And the next is, with regard to international affairs, Brexit is in news, and Parliament of UK has voted for Brexit. And then with regard to US-Turkey relations, an article has come up. We are going to talk about that. Chabahar Port, and then indices. There are 2 important indices which are there in the news this week. One is Good Governance Index, Global Gender Gap, which was given by World Economic Forum. And then Sustainable Development Goals Index, Atal Bhujal Yojana for the groundwater. A new program was launched by the government of India. We have to discuss about this. And then we have Locust Invasion in Gujarat. What are these locusts, where they come from, what is their behavior? These are the important articles for today. Now, what are the articles which have come up? Citizenship Amendment Act related. First is an act that fails the constitutional trust. Now, the next editorial which has come up is what are the amendments that CAA needs? And the next article is a decision without forethought, and Assam's identity fears face up to divisive politics. These are the 4 articles which have come up in the newspaper. What are these 4 articles? One is that constitutional trust, and the second is amendments that CAA needs. What is the editorial talking about that? And the third is the Northeast, especially Assam dimension and Northeast dimension to the Citizenship Amendment Act. These are the things which we are going to talk about. First one is Article 1. What is the essence of this Article 1? So this Article 1 is coming in the context of 3 articles. Let us see that. Mr. Pinarayi Vijayan of Kerala, what he stated is this: the Citizenship Amendment Act is violative of Article 14 principles of secularism, and it is pushing India as a Hindu nation. It is an attempt to make India as a Hindu nation. The counter to it was given by Subramanya Swamy, saying that Article 14 is not just about equality before law, but also equal protection of law. So majority and minority cannot be treated equally. Minority are the victims of persecution, that is the argument. And second, what Subramanya Swamy said, now if it is the case, what this article argues in the context of Subramanya Swamy's article, what they say is, okay, good enough. Then India has repeatedly stated at UN Human Rights Council. What did it say at UN Human Rights Council? It has repeatedly stated one thing at UNHRC. What is that? It has stated simply, India has raised the voice against the situation of Ahmadiyas. Ahmadiyas who are part of the Pakistan, who are also Muslims, they are facing persecution over there. So it means India has raised that in the case of UNHRC. Then how can we say that the minorities are getting persecuted in Pakistan? Even certain sections of the Muslims are getting persecuted in Pakistan. And added to that, when you go to Myanmar, we have the Rohingya issue. And India wants to deport the Rohingyas. So if we see these 2 things, what do we understand? The rule is very simple. So India is trying to discriminate on the basis of religion. That's how this article is arguing. And the second part of this, so Hindu religion or Hindu Dharma treats all the religions equally, preaches to treat all the religions equally. Sarva Dharma Samabhavana is the basis for Hindu religion. So in this context, Hindu religion has intrinsically secularism. But Hindu religion and Hindutva are 2 different things. We have seen an article based on the philosophy. What it said is, Hindu religion is more about compassion, is more about empathy, is more about accepting the others. But Hindutva is a muscular ideology. So we have seen in the last week classes, Nishkarma Bhava. It means without expecting anything, we shall start working. And added to that, we have given Gora of Ravindranath Tagore as example, which says that motherhood, empathy, it can change the people. Similarly, we took the Aurobindo example, which spoke about compassion and consciousness, empathy. These are the things which constitute the Hindu religion. But today, Hindutva is more towards identity based. That's what is been criticized as. It is more to gather power, more to consolidate vote bank. So it is more becoming divisive rather than accommodative. From that perspective, it is been criticized. And the next thing is, what are the amendments that CAA needs? I told you only 2 things. What are they? First is, it shall become religion neutral. Either you accept the immigrants as refugees or not, that is not the question. Either you accept or reject, keep that religiously neutral. Let's not discriminate that. And second, if you want to accept the refugees, we have, what is that we have? UN Convention on Refugees, UN Convention on Statelessness. So let us accept that. Let us sign that Convention on Statelessness. And further to that, what we said, persecution cannot be defined in a narrow religious terms. Let's define the persecution in the broader, wider terms. Either it can be political, if you talk about Tibetans, that's more a political persecution, or it can be linguistic. If you talk about the case of the Bengalis in East Pakistan, it was more linguistic persecution. So these are all the things we need to talk about. Hope you understood these things. Now let's move on to the next slide. A decision without forethought. The Citizenship Amendment Act, it has created a lot of disturbance in the public order. Because of this disturbance in the public order, many of the international summits that were supposed to happen got cancelled. One thing is Japan summit, the next is visit of the foreign minister of Bangladesh. So if you see Southeast Asia and our Northeast, Southeast Asian countries, our Northeast, they shall work together so that the prosperity and economic activity is created in Northeast. This is the essence of Act East policy of India. This is the essence of Act East policy of India. So, Act East policy and impact of Citizenship Amendment Act and the consequences on Act East policy, probably government did not give a complete thought to it. That is the essence of this article. And next, Assam's identity fears. Assam is more worried about CAA rather than NPR or NRC. And you know that NPR and NRC are not going to be done in Assam. So why it is more worried about CAA? To understand this, we need to know about the Assam history. So Assamese, these people were a majority in that land. And many of the northeast states today were also part of this kingdom of Assam, which was before independence. Now, later, at the time of Bengal partition, during Britishers, many of these Bengalis got and settled in Assam. And after that, at the time of independence, many people got settled in Assam. And after that, 1971, when East Pakistan was converted into Bangladesh, and when there was massacre of Bengalis, then huge refugee crisis made the Bengalis to come and settle in the states of Tripura and Assam. Post 1971, many of the illegal immigrants have come because of porous nature of the border between India and Bangladesh. The reason is most of the border is shifting border, the riverine border. It means rivers change their courses and these borders get shifted. So that's why we can't build a fence how we built between India and Pakistan on this border. That's why people shift over here. So in this case, the thing is very simple. Assamese are becoming a linguistic minority in their own land. They are becoming a linguistic minority in the place where they are living. And Bengalis are becoming a majority. Because of this, all Assam Students Union has started a movement. And when Rajiv Gandhi was the Prime Minister, he came forward for Assam Accord. One important thing at Assam Accord is they have accepted the people who have got settled in Assam up to 1971. But who have come to Assam after 1971 have to be deported. But today, with the Citizenship Amendment Act, the people who have come from up to December 31, 2014, who are non-Muslims, up to December 31st, 2014, who are non-Muslims, all these can be allowed to be the citizens in this country. It means that today the Assam Accord is disrespected, and many of the Bengali immigrants who have come and settled, if they are non-Muslims, they can seek the citizenship of India. That's where the 1971 deadline is gone. So that's why agitation was there. So these are the articles for this. Test yourself. December 31st is chosen as a cutoff date for CAA. Do we have any reasons? Only minorities are being included over here. So the Rohingyas, Baluchs, these are being considered as a majority by this law. That's where the problem was. What is the difference between NRC and CAA? Now this is the topic which I have to explain. NPR, National Population Register. It means all the residents of a given country who are living for more than 6 months in this country and who intends to live greater than 6 months in this country. Who are living greater than 6 months in this country, or who intends to live greater than 6 months, these are called as residents of this region. And these all names will be figured in National Population Register. Now among these people will be verified, and we get National Register of Citizens. What is this National Register of Citizens? The people who are verified as citizens, they become the part of NRC, National Register of Citizens. So who has to verify that? The local officials has to verify that. So National Population Register we have, and then National Register of Citizens we have. So this is the difference. Now Citizenship Amendment Act is a law. NPR is an exercise to enumerate the citizens who are living in this country, and NRC is filtering the citizens out of NPR. And Citizenship Act rules, they provide for the avenue to filter the citizens out of NPR. Citizenship Amendment Act enti, whoever are not the citizens of India, who have come as illegal immigrants into this country, they can be given the citizenship if they are minorities from Pakistan, Bangladesh and Afghanistan. And added to that, they have to be living in the India for at least 5 years. Then cutoff line is December 31st, 2014. This is the cutoff date, I think. So can Muslims obtain Indian citizenship through naturalization? Anyone can obtain the citizenship through naturalization. But with regard to these 3 countries who are illegal immigrants, either their parents or themselves, they cannot attain this. That's what we need to understand over here. Now hope I have answered these questions to you. Now let's go to the next slide. Now we have started a doubts corner. Any doubt anywhere can be posted to this telegram number. The telegram and WhatsApp number for this is 9052083939, LAX Doubts Corner. So you can post any doubt on a daily basis, which will be discussed in the weekend. So this is a current affairs doubt session. Some students are asking, why can't you teach the entire WTO? If this is a doubt session, let's make the sanctity of the doubt session on current affairs intact. What is the WhatsApp number? 9052083939. Whenever you are reading certain topic, when you got a problem about it, you can post on to this number. Immediately our people will come back to you. They try to address your concern. And Law Excellence R&D, LawX R&D, this is the one who is providing you this particular service. I will be thankful to various members of LawX R&D who are doing an active work to provide for this support to the students. Now, I think these questions are answered to you with regard to Citizenship Amendment Act. So let us see. So now, live doubts, you can ask the doubts over here. So on the live chat, you can post the doubts now related to Citizenship Amendment Act on whatever the questions which are been asked till this week. Dr. Krishnaveni Gouda, so thank you very much for your comments. Sandeep Nayak, why NPR issue is on a fire few days? Is it a problem for common people? Simple thing. NPR is not at all an issue. Data of NPR can be used for preparation of NRC, National Register of Citizens. So this NRC, National Register of Citizens, the burden of proof, I am a citizen of this country, the burden of proof lies on whom? The burden of proof lies on the citizens. That's where the problem which we have over here. The burden of proof is there on the citizens. That's what is the problem, Sandeep Nayak. Thank you very much for your question. Okay, the next question, Surya Teja. Sir, don't you think Mr. Swami's interpretation of equal protection of law is flawed, as it is individual-centric right rather than collective right? Exactly, Surya. The 3 flaws are there in Mr. Swami's argument. He was saying that the religious minorities, but there are many other different minorities. Persecution in the world is not just based on religion. It can happen on any ground. We have to see the persecution from the dimension of the victim rather than from the dimension of the invitee. Any person can be persecuted for any reason. And second, the Hindu Dharma, whatever it is been spoken about, it has to be accepted by other communities. You cannot preach, you can preach your Dharma, but you cannot impose your Dharma on the others. That's why Surya Teja, I also think that there is a flawed argument in that. Next. So Afghanistan persecuted people are included in CAA. Yes, Miss Krishnaveni, Dr. Krishnaveni Gouda. Now, Sai Kumar has given a very beautiful point. Now, see, we are seeing the issue in two extreme dimensions. What are the extreme dimensions? Either you are a citizen or not, black and white. Can't we see the things in between? It means if you take the Sri Lankan refugees, we have voluntary repatriation. What is meant by voluntary repatriation? So they can come and live over here. If they want to go back, they can go back. That is what we call voluntary repatriation. And if you talk about the Dharmashala, McLeodganj, where Tibetans are staying, their Tibetans are staying. So we have voluntarily given the place. Jawaharlal Nehru has given the place. They are making this as a country and living over there till the threat of persecution is removed in Tibet. That is how it goes on. Right. Sai Kumar, I think I have answered your question. The Tamil migrants enjoys voluntary repatriation. It means if they are facing the threat of persecution, they can make this land as the time they want. When they want to go back, they can honorably go back. That is what is the Sai Kumar, the policy of Government of India. I think I will be moving to the next question. Okay. Now, article dangerous doublespeak. So this is also related to National Registry of Citizens. What is this doublespeak? It has been stated one way that we are not going to do NRC. NPR and NRC are not connected. But see, citizenship rules clearly say that NPR, from the data collected, we can make the NRC. So multiple voices being given, and then without being solving these, you need to give security to your citizens. Government, instead of creating fears and sense of insecurity, provide them the necessary security, clarity. Why we are not doing that? That is what is the question which has been posed over here. I think I have explained this to you. I am moving to the next article. BJP Jharkhand Assembly laws. Here we do not get into the politics, etc., what happened over there. Let us remember one thing. BJP has got 50% plus votes in Lok Sabha elections in the same state, but it has lost the immediate elections which have happened for the state legislative assembly. What might have made the difference? There is a big allegation against Indians. We don't differentiate between national and state elections. So see, in the national elections, people got inspired by the nationalistic drive, surgical strikes, etc. Now the second thing is, immediately after that, whatever the election has happened, the local issues dominated, the tribal issues dominated, tribal identity issues have become this thing. Political centralization of BJP was questioned. Why only Modi has to be visible? Why can't the local leadership take the challenge? The political leadership is being questioned. Centralization in Indian political system is questioned. So the biggest point which I see here with regard to Jharkhand elections, so they are able to differentiate between national issues and local issues. A state which is dominated by tribal population, if it is able to do that, obviously we can expect from the other states the same way. And second thing, economic slowdown, will it affect the political parties or not? See, Jharkhand is a mineral rich state, and then Jharkhand industrial state. In that case, when mineral activity, mining activity, and added to that, when industrial activity has come down due to economic slowdown, don't you think common man gets affected? Yes, he got affected. That's what is the outcome of this. If automobile sector has slowed down, iron mining gets slowed down, and then iron industry gets slowed down. So there is a chain which affects the common man, the last man working on the ground, the labor working on the ground, worker working on the ground. So this is also one thing which has affected. So here, Patalgadi movement, I was very curious about this movement. Do you know this Patalgadi? Jal, Jameen, and what is that? Forest. What do we call it as? Jungle. Jal, Jameen, jungle movement we call it as. So this is a very interesting movement. So these people major demand is they will plant a stone outside the village that they recognize none other law of the country other than the PISA Act. So remember this Patalgadi movement, a movement which is asking for the strengthening of the PISA Act and rights of the tribals, which has become a talk of the entire Jharkhand state. So Patalgadi movement, please try to take a look at that. Next is doubts on this issue, sir. Now let's see the doubts on this issue. Anyone has the doubts? No, no one has asked the doubts. Please, live session. Do you have any doubts on this? Jharkhand, there are two take-home points in Jharkhand. One is the people started differentiating between national elections and the local elections, state elections. And the second thing is, with regard to Jharkhand elections, the economic slowdown showed its outcomes and results. And Patalgadi movement is tribal rights movement which is centered around PISA Act, Panchayat extension to scheduled areas, which provides for local autonomy to the tribals to rule themselves. It provides for the necessary authority over the resources of their land. So tribals, Patalgadi movement can be an answer you can add as a value addition in your point. Now, Dr. Krishnaveni Gouda, differentiate between Afghanistan persecuted people and Afghans, sir. So persecuted people, it means, let's take Talibans were there. When Talibans were there, different other sects in the Afghanistan, Northern Alliance, the northern people are non-Pashtuns. These were persecuted by the Talibans. Pakistan, Baloch people are being persecuted in Pakistan, though they were Muslims. Now if you go to Shia-Sunni fight is there for long. Many countries Sunnis are being persecuted, some countries Shias are being persecuted. So don't think that one religion is persecuting the other. A subset of the people in a particular religion are also being persecuted by the others. So Vignesh Gonella. So PISA, Panchayat extension to scheduled areas. Panchayat extension to scheduled areas. You know, 73rd, 74th Amendment Act. They do not, any parliamentary law do not directly apply in the scheduled areas. The President of India has to make a special order to extend that particular Panchayat law to the scheduled areas. For that, Parliament passed a special law that is called Panchayat Extension to Scheduled Areas Act. So under this Panchayat Extension to Scheduled Areas, Grama Sabha is all powerful to make the decisions, either to allow the outsiders or not, or to provide for benefits of mining etc. or not, permissions to mining, especially minor minerals permission etc. Everything has to be given by Grama Sabha. It means the local communities are being given the power to make their own decisions. The Grama Sabha is all powerful under the PISA Act. It is extension of the panchayats to the scheduled areas passed by the Parliament. Oh Vignesh, I have explained this. Next. A PISA Act, Patel Chandrakant, I have explained that. So Abhijit Gupta, is the current slowdown is cyclical or structural? How can we conclude? In India, always we have structural factors underlying every economic slowdown. The structural factors can only be corrected with long-term reforms. The cyclical factors are due to fluctuation in demand. So when we have the fluctuation in demand, based on that, we are getting either positive or else a positive growth or suppression of the growth. So everywhere, any economic recession is majorly due to cyclical factors, and structural factors makes the economy vulnerable for these cyclical factors. Remember that. So impact of cyclical is more. S. Krishnaveni Gouda. Let's move further. Next slide. Oh no, sorry. Before that, local body elections are there. Why is this in news? In Panchayat tomorrow, I think 30th, we have local body elections in Tamil Nadu. The results are on 2nd. So for 3 years, what are the provisions in the 73rd Amendment Act? What are the provisions? The first is, once in 5 years, elections have to be held. if any chance they are being dismissed, elections to be held within 6 months. Then how come there were no local bodies in Tamil Nadu for 3 years? This is where the state governments make various issues. What the state governments does? First, the voters list are not ready. Delimitation of constituencies is not yet ready. Or they do not constitute state election commission timely. So they have hundreds of reasons either to do this or not to do this. They have huge reasons. So they have procrastinating or postponing the things. So in this context, finally, a decision has come. Even courts' involvement is also another reason. So courts have cancelled the local elections, saying that these are getting manipulated. There are illegalities happening. So in this context, what did the author tell us? If local bodies are well developed, it is good for political parties. Why it is good? Secondary leadership develops in the towns, cities and villages. And this secondary leadership becomes a strong base for the political parties. And then local bodies encourages the people participation. People participation encourages the accountability of the government. That is the second reason which he has stated. And third, local bodies, if they are given power, the service delivery to the people will improve. So we can provide for better services, we can increase the people participation, and we also can make the political parties benefited because of the development of secondary leadership. That's why local governments are very important. In this context, he spoke about an index that is called devolution index. What is this devolution index? In this, how many powers are being given by a respective state government to the local governments? That is what is called devolution index. So Kerala, it stands top on this devolution index because it runs on the decentralization mode with more and more powers to the local governments. If you have to decentralize, devolve more powers to the local government. That is the essence of this article. Questions, please. After 5 years, will local bodies automatically dissolve? And if they dissolve, will be the authority there? After 5 years, before the completion of this 5 years, a notification has to be issued by the State Election Commission to conduct the elections, Vignesh. Now that is what we have to remember. The next part is, let's go to the next slide, next issue. Data protection only weakens user rights. Now, there are two things with regard to data protection we have to understand. What is this article is talking about? Data protection has to be seen from right to privacy dimension. Also, data protection can be seen from two other dimensions. What are these dimensions? What are the two? That is community rights dimension. And then data protection can also be seen from another dimension, that is national security dimension. We can also see this thing from the national security. So community dimension or collective rights dimension, national security dimension, from these two we can see it as. Now, if we consider that data is necessary for collective benefit, it means data can be collected by the government, can be used by the government for its benefit. It means today government is collecting data through vehicle registration, licenses, voter ID, Aadhaar, multiple sources. What the government shall do with this data? Government can give this data various private companies so that they can use for economic benefit, where government also shares the economic benefits out of it. It means my data can be used by the state for its economic benefit, which will be spent for collective benefit of the society. But what happens to my right to privacy, which was given by Puttaswamy, Supreme Court in Puttaswamy case? So my data, either it has to be used or not, the decision has to be mine or not. Across the world, data protection bills, what is their use? Utility limitation or usage limitation. And what does that it mean? So any data belonging to an individual, if it has to be used by the state or any multinational company, then the permission of that individual is required. So the data privacy is part of right to privacy. But government, either you talk about the August 15th speech of the Prime Minister, or to that extent, economic survey, what it is talking about, everything is saying data shall be considered as a collective right for the welfare of the society, for the benefit of the community, for the creation of wealth to the government. That's how we are talking it as. And we are saying that the individual privacy rights, which are the demand of few well-educated people, shall not compromise the rights of livelihood of the poor and marginalized. That is the argument which the government is saying. So in this context, remember, right to privacy, it has taken various new dimensions in the digital era. One is right to forget. In the Europe, this is a big movement now, right to forget. In Europe, right to forget is a very big movement. It means whatever you store, it is there in Google now. And then Google, at any point of time, your name is typed, that is visible. So that's why people shall have right to forget. That is one thing. And second, India is specifically demanding for data localization. It means whatever the data which is produced in this country, let this data be used for the citizens of India. It means do not take away the India's data to the benefit of some other country. Store the data of India in Indian servers itself. That is what is the demand of the government. Now, let us take the questions on this. Next is Thaddi Nagamani, how the data of individual can be useful for economic development or government. Now, how Amazon is using your data, Nagamani? Now, some other customer has bought certain good. If you bought the same good, so it is also giving recommendations. The persons who bought this good also bought this good. Obviously, they are able to push you to buy some other goods or not, Nagamani? Yes or no? Here, Snowden's statement, remember this. The national interest, security interest, economic interests of MNCs, the so-called national security interests of the governments and economic interests of the MNCs, they do synergize with each other. So government talks the language of national security, MNCs talks the language of profitability with the data. Both of them have the common collective agenda. They synergize in their views. Now, Sai Kumar, why MNCs and USA are refusing to localize data in India? They want to keep the data where the laws are convenient to them. They don't want to have restrictions. Let's take Google wants to keep the data where the server costs are low, or it wants to keep all the data centralized in its office. If it has to delocalize the data, it has to create the servers over here. It means tomorrow, if some other local officer asks for some data, Google has to devolve it. So Google may be asked to work on the law of this land. Remember, WhatsApp, that is end-to-end encryption, is being questioned. The government want who is the perpetrator of the violence. WhatsApp is not ready to answer. It is the privacy of my customer, I don't answer to you. So government may bend them down, arm twist with them if their servers are kept in India. Next is Surya Teja, Vignesh Golla, Venkat Ramana. Is this bill is allowing government to sell our personal data to private players? This bill is not restricting it. This bill is not restricting the sale of our data by the government. That is the problem, Venkat Ramana. Vignesh, means on security basis can they reject info? Yes. Even, okay, the time to give the info does make a difference or not? And now a communal riot is going on. As quick as possible, if information is being given, we can control that so quickly. Now, why the government is shutting down the internet? Because it is unable to shut down the activity on WhatsApp, so it is shutting the entire internet down. Next is attitude kills. Please answer my question. I missed your question, attitude. Please post that again. Somewhere it is lost. Next is SK. Can citizens sue the government for lack of regulations on corporates' use of citizens' private data? Now, If data is recognized as a collective resource, you cannot sue the government. If law recognizes data's ownership rights lies in the person, yes, you can go to the court on that. Very good question, SK. Next is, how the personal data can be diluted? So dilution of personal data, it means they remove their names and they provide the data in bulk. If a Google which has so much of data with us, and knowing who the data whom it belongs to is not a very difficult for Google, because Google and Apple have more data than government. Now, Vignesh, how private players deny data to government? Now in USA, when California firings have happened, government FBI has asked the Apple to devolve the data of the accused or the person who fired the gun. The Apple rejected it, giving data. We don't give the data. We have the right to privacy. We have a responsibility to protect the privacy of our customers. And simply Apple in India says that we are bound by the laws of some XYZ country. Now, can we move to the next article? Let us move to the next article. Women's issue, global gender gap. So what is this global gender gap? India ranked 112, last year 108. We slipped by 4 positions. What are the 4 criteria under this? That is education, health and survival, and the next is political empowerment, economic participation. These are the 4 criteria under this particular global gender gap. India is now in 112th rank. Even this rank was there because India performed on the criteria that is political empowerment. I think India is in the 18th position or somewhere on the political empowerment. That is, this is 112th is the India's position. So Indian performing very poorly on the gender gap. In this context, remember, wherever there is democracy, it shall always be associated with social transformation. The social transformation towards gender equality, social equality, economic equality. Democracy without social transformation, it becomes a society of inequality and becomes unsustainable. Democracy always shall be associated with social transformation. Remember that. Very good, Vignesh. So, economic impact, economic participation, political empowerment and participation, health and education. Yes, very good. Vignesh, very good. Thank you very much. Now, on women rights, any questions, please? Next is, WTO issues will be discussed by economy, sir. What is WTO appellate body? These all will be discussed to you by economy, sir. Now, economic slowdown. What is the article of Rangarajan, sir, says? Cyclical factors and structural factors. These are both necessary or both are the reasons for economic slowdown. More are cyclical in nature than structural. So what shall we do? For the cyclical measures, we have to go and create demand. Where we can create the demand? Private sector is already sleeping. So where we can demand? Public sector, we can create the demand. With regard to structural factors, the finance sector is doing worst. NPAs of the banks are the major reason. What shall we do with regard to NPAs of the banks? Recapitalization is the solution which was given to them. And added to that, to create demand, public investment. What is the biggest hurdle for it? Fiscal deficit is the biggest hurdle for it. The government shall not worry too much about the fiscal deficit. Move on, spend more, create demand. This is what Rangarajan sir was telling. So, monetary policy, fiscal measures are possible. Monetary measures are not possible at this juncture. Why? Inflation is going high and high. Why inflation is going high and high? The food prices are going high and high. If they are seasonal, well and good. But if they are systemic, monetary policy will be of no use. So, this is about public sector banks, NPAs. So, in this case, cyclical factors, structural factors. In the structural factors, land reforms, labor reforms and capital reforms. In the capital reforms, failure of the banking sector. Why the banking sector is failing? NPAs. So, NPAs are the legacy of 2008-9 crisis. In that case, strengthen the banking sector. Give them more money, recapitalization. How can we give them more money? Breach the fiscal deficit targets. Why can't we use the monetary policy to create demand? Inflation is there. Monetary policy is of not much use. This is the essence of the article of the Rangarajan, sir. Now the question, sir. Questions. Now, whenever you send the doubts, list the article of Hindu and then send the doubt on the article of Hindu to that particular number 9052083939. List the article number, name of the article, and send the doubt. Sir, on this article I have this doubt, so that we can clarify you. What is meant by recapitalization? Who is the biggest owner of the public sector banks? Who is the owner? Government is the owner. So when the capital is depreciated or when the capital lost its value, who has to give the capital, more capital into it? Let's take, I am running an institute. If the value, or else it needs money to run, who has to provide for extra capital? So myself. Similarly, the owner of the banks is government. Government has to give the capital. So giving this extra capital, we call it as recapitalization. Now, Venkataramana, did RBI took early measures of reducing repo rate it failed to understand food inflation? I can say RBI is acting very, very slowly. RBI is very conservative. And there is one criticism that after Mr. Das has become the RBI governor, he is getting more focused to growth. But if we observe, if RBI do not give space for the growth with focus on inflation, then our situation would have been much worse. From the last February, RBI is more favorable. It is relaxing the monetary policy so that it can give space for growth. So, ready to move. You can send, it's not a group. Telegram there is a group. That is Likes Doubts Corner, that is the group in Telegram. But in the case of WhatsApp, there is no group. It is just you can send the doubt. In Telegram group, you can join or you can send a message, our people will make you join into that particular group. Chaganti Vanita, structural measures, rural inclusive growth, agricultural sector strengthening, skill development, health and education, employment, public investment. All these are the measures to improve the capabilities of the people. Yes, those are necessary to unleash human spirit. Next, infusing more capital. Yes, someone has to spend the money to bring back that animal spirits. So that's why we need that. So, Surya Teja, sir, to improve women participation, can we go for primaries to avoid proxy governance? Right, very good question, Surya Teja. I never thought in that dimension. As like in US, why can't we have primaries for local governments rather than reservations? So that women can choose. Surya Teja, it's a very question. I think I need time to think on to this and to answer systematically. But thank you very much for that question, Surya Teja. It is a brain teaser. Venkatramana, the repo rate is not much transferred to the banks. Yes, it is. See, banks have certain issues. Though RBI is decreasing the interest rates, banks have competition from other things. Let's take provident funds. Various kinds of funds are there. So in these funds, people are getting more interest. See, banks have a competition. At the end of the day, bank is a business. Bank has to attract the deposits and it has to lend these deposits. Yes or no? It has to get the deposits and lend. How? When the people will deposit? When the interest rates are more. When it is keeping the interest rates low, so lending rate has to be higher than deposit rate, then only it can make the profits. So if the deposit rate is has to be kept high, because the deposit rate on the other instruments, either you talk about commercial paper or you talk about some other things like provident fund savings, their interest rates are high. So banks, to compete with them, they have to keep the higher interest rates on deposits. So they are forced to keep the higher interest rates on lending. That's how the repo rate reductions, monetary policy benefits are not being transferred. That's what is the point we need to understand. Now, Vignesh, I thought someone will ask this question, Operation Twist. Before coming to the class, I was preparing for this question, Operation Twist. So bond yields, this is more in graphical or else statistical measure. So Operation Twist, how to use this Operation Twist, that I have to do some research on this, Vignesh. I need a time for it. I will discuss to you in the next week, Vignesh. Next is RBI taking Operation Twist to create demand in the market as there is no transmission. So that's what is. how Operation Twist is linked to transmission, how America did that in 1961. I need some more clarity on that. So then I can talk to you in detail, Vignesh, on that. Why Indian economy is still not rising after taking many measures like rate cutting, recapitalization, MG Trust. The simple answer I can give you is trust. Economy, society, politics, everything runs on trust. When stability, political stability is there, but where is social stability? CAA, where the investors will come. Investors are insecure. What this government will do tomorrow? Political stability is the primary factor to attract the investments. And the people also want stability, harmony in the society to make investments. The people should trust in each other. People's trust in government is the biggest asset a country can possess. I think India, secularism is one such a thing. Our secularism shall maintain the trust between the communities, trust between the people. Communal harmony is not a simple thing. It has a value of its own. That's how I can put it as Mr. Ashok. Okay. Now, let's move to the next article. Cracks in the relic. This is about US-Turkey relations. This is related to US-Turkey relations. Let's understand this US-Turkey relations. They are both are part of NATO. Next, but Erdogan is moving close to Russia. Why this man has to move close to Russia? Why he has to buy S-400 Triumph missiles from Russia? Now, Trump is supporting someone called Fethullah Gulen. So this Gulen is said to be accused of a coup against the Erdogan regime. A cleric by name Gulen. And the second is Kurds issue. These Kurds are very active. People protection units. These are very active in fighting ISIS, Islamic State in Syria. Now these Kurds are getting the support of America. These Kurds are separatists in Turkey. They are seen as separatists. And Kurdistan's Workers' Party is declared as a terrorist organization by Turks. So it is unable to digest American support for Kurds on the Syrian side. Mr. Erdogan fears that Turkish Kurds, Syrian Kurds, Iraq Kurds, all they together demand a separate nation called Kurdistan. So in this context, they say that we may even move out of NATO if necessary. And on the other hand, Trump himself is saying, what is the relevance of NATO? Why do we need NATO? And America, as it has bought it from Russia, S-400 Triumph missiles, what it did? F-35. There is a program, fifth generation aircraft is being built by US. There is F-35 aircraft. It threw the Turkey out of it. This is what is happening. This is, we need to remember. Chabahar Port. Why we are creating Chabahar Port? There are two things. From Mumbai, we can go to Chabahar, from there to Iran, from there to Central Asia, from there to Russia, Russia to Europe. So it's an alternative route. As of now, we have to move, on the roundabout. So it is creating an alternative route. And the second thing, Afghanistan. How shall we move now? We shall move through Pakistan. Now, from this Mumbai port, we are going to Chabahar. From Chabahar, we are entering to Afghanistan. So it's an alternative route to Afghanistan and also alternative route. Alternative route to north-south corridor, that is to Europe. That's why it is important for us. Next. Why is Chabahar important to India? Recollect. And then any doubts on this? We'll move on. NPR, Cabinet gave it the approval. So already we have discussed sufficiently on this. Let's move on. Atal Bhujal Yojana. What is this Atal Bhujal Yojana is for? So groundwater improvement. Total fund is 6,000 crores. Where it is coming from? Central government. 50% is coming from central government. The remaining 50% is the loan from World Bank. Who will pay off this loan? Central government itself. It means 100% of funding of the Atal Bhujal Yojana, it is by the center to the states. Now, so who is executing this? Jal Shakti Ministry. Jal Shakti Ministry. So this is for 5 years. Now why the groundwater is depleting in India? One most important reason is free power. Free power. And the next is groundwater is not seen as collective resource. For example, if I have a land, I am the owner of the land and also resources under the land, which also includes the groundwater. It means I can overly exploit the groundwater. So groundwater, if it is considered as community resource or collective resource, everyone will save the water. Why? Now as we are getting the water from Hyderabad Metropolitan Water Supply and Sewage Board, what we are doing? We are measuring and we are paying the bill. Similarly, even for groundwater, how much you are using, based on that if the bill comes, obviously we will be very careful. Right? So individualize the payments for groundwater too. That will solve the entire problem. Next is, there is a new tunnel opened on Rohtang Tunnel. This is also named after Atal Bihari Vajpayee. Rohtang Tunnel. Rohtang ekkadundandi? Where it is? It is in Himachal Pradesh. The Rohtang Tunnel in Himachal Pradesh, it is up to where? Leh in Kashmir. It is reducing the distance by 46 kilometers. So it is the longest tunnel over the altitude of 3000 meters. Longest tunnel. Now let's move on. Massive locust invasion in Gujarat. What is the revision on this? So locust, where they invade, where the rainfall is less than 200 millimeters. It means in the dry tropical regions they invade. They invade on the dry tropical regions. So locust invasion in the dry tropical regions. And then where they start from? They have started from Africa and they have come to Pakistan, West Asia to Pakistan, Sindh region, from there to Gujarat and Rajasthan. So these will come in swarms, huge groups. Each swarm of square kilometer may consist of close to 1 crore of locusts. Such a big swarm. And they can eat the food of 35,000 people, one swarm. And then they settle in the night, morning they fly off. That's why we can't disturb them. We can't really tackle them. So what shall we do? We have to airborne, we have to throw the insecticides from above. Then only we can kill the locusts. There is a huge crop loss because of these locusts. Next is Good Governance Index. So who launched this Good Governance Index? On a Good Governance Day, Government of India launched this. These kind of indices, who is preparing? It is Niti Aayog is the one who is preparing these indices. Now, let's move. Niti Aayog has made another index. What is that index? Sustainable Development Goals Index. Where India starts SDG, where India stands on SDGs, that particular thing, a goal is created, an index is created. The question can be, who created this index? Niti Aayog has created this index. That can be the prelims question. Now, doubts from social media. What is the difference between Defence Acquisition Council, Defence Planning Committee? Defence Acquisition Council, it is for the procurement of the resources. So it is majorly to look after how the procurement has to be and how transparent it has to be. Defence Minister chairs this. Defence Planning Committee, it is to tackle surgical strikes like these things have to be planned. So it is to tackle important defence operations. So National Security Advisor heads this. So in both of this, Chief of Defence Staff is going to be a member. Next. Why the surface temperature of Bay of Bengal greater than that of Arabian Sea? One is more locked. So when it is locked, obviously it's higher when compared to open vast ocean. Next is, what is Article 142? Supreme Court can do ultimate justice under Article 142. To achieve ultimate justice, Supreme Court can go beyond the law and give that particular judgment. So this law provides for something called ultimate justice. During an emergency, all fundamental rights are suspended except Article 20 and 21. What is the use when Article 32 is not there, which implies right to move to the court? Remember, Article 20, 21 are not suspended because when national emergency was imposed by Indira Gandhi, she has misused the suspension of right to life and liberty when all the people were pushed into the jails. So that's why this cannot be suspended. So remember that. They cannot be suspended. So these are the final thing. So this is where we stand. So we have revised all the current affairs in this week and we have given certain value addition sessions. So you can send LAX R&D number 9052083939. Let me check this number again. 9052083939. Yes. Any doubt? Please send it in this format. Article in the newspaper and then what is your doubt? Because our R&D team also has to understand the context in which you are asking that question, so that we will be able to answer you in a better position. So every Sunday, every Saturday, 7 to 8 o'clock, we collect the important doubts and we address those doubts. We are also going to start a doubt session for general topics. So this doubt session is a current affairs doubt session in the previous week. So let's confine that to the current affairs doubt session. And this is not just a doubt session, this is also a revision session. So again I tell you this, without revision, current affairs will never be consolidated. Gender gap 112, there are 4 criteria. There is good governance index, SDG index, devolution index, Janasuchana portal. If you remember all these repeatedly when we listen, we remember that. This is the purpose of this class. Hope you enjoyed my class and thank you for your good comments. So it is the time I need to stop this. We are 6 minutes past 7 o'clock. Thank you very much. Have a great day.